O hidden life, vibrant in every atom.
O hidden light, vibrant in every atom.
O hidden light, shining in every creature.
O hidden light, shining in every creature.
O hidden love, embracing all in oneness.
O hidden love, embracing all in
all
oneness.
in oneness.
May each who feels himself as one with thee.
May each
Each
who
who
feels
feels
himself
himself
as
as
one
one
with
with
thee,
thee.
know he is also one with every other.
know he is also one
Also
with
one with
every
every
other.
other.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
શ્રી તરલભાઈ મુનશીને આજની સભાની આગળની કાર્યવાહી માટે આમંત્રિત કરું છું. તરલભાઈ, આપનું સ્વાગત છે.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अतुल जी। और जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि आज की मीटिंग विशेष इसलिए है कि 3 वक्ता एक अच्छे विषय पर तो बोलने ही वाले हैं, लेकिन आज हम हमेशा एक जब भी बुक का अध्ययन करेंगे तो किसी न किसी किताब का हम यहाँ पर एक तरह से अनावरण करेंगे, उसका विमोचन करेंगे, ताकि जिन्होंने भी कोई किताब रीजनल लैंग्वेज में लिखी हो या जो भी साथी अभी अनुवाद कर रहे हैं उनको भी एक मौका मिले कि उनकी अनुवाद की हुई पुस्तक सब पढ़ सकें। तो अलग अलग भाषाओं में अलग अलग काफी लोगों ने इंटरेस्ट दिखाया है, तो अगली मीटिंगों में भी हम उसे इस्तेमाल करेंगे। अभी मैं शुरुआत करता हूँ। तो सबसे पहले मैं आमंत्रित करने जा रहा हूँ आज के जो हमारे हैं वरुण रामकृष्णा जी को। वे मास्टर इन मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग है। 13 साल से पहले तक की उनको ऑटोमोटिव इंडस्ट्री का अनुभव है और थियोसॉफी में वो फैमिली के द्वारा इंट्रोड्यूस हुए। ग्रांड्स पेरेंट्स भी इनिशियल मेंबर थे। एक्टिवली पार्टिसिपेटिंग किया है उन्होंने बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज में पिछले 7 सालों में। बेंगलोर सिटी लॉज से यूथ कॉन्फ्रेंस हरियाणा में जो ऑर्गेनाइज होती है उसके अंदर भी वो संलग्न रहे हैं और इस तरह से उनका जो पार्टिसिपेशन है वो हमेशा आगे बढ़ता रहा। 2018 और 2000 उसमें भी वो संलग्न रहे और इस तरह से उन्होंने 2018 में योगा प्रेजेंट किया, टॉपिक जिसको बोलते हैं जाना योगा, और मेडिटेशन एंड ह्यूमन रिजनरेशन में भी उन्होंने बहुत साइंटिफिक स्टडीज एंड इफेक्ट ऑन पार्टिसिपेटिंग मेडिटेशन में किया। बहुत सारे रोल उन्होंने निभाए। टीओएस बेंगलोर के ट्रेजरर रहे हैं और एक्टिवली टीओएस की एक्टिविटी में बेंगलोर सिटी लॉज में पार्टिसिपेट करते रहते हैं। इसके अलावा यूथ लॉज में जो हमारी है उसमें बहुत सक्रिय हैं। आइए आज के इस अनोखे विषय का शुभारंभ कीजिए। धन्यवाद। आपके पास 18 मिनट है, उसके बाद दोनों लैंग्वेज वक्ता जो है वो 9 मिनट में पार्ट 1 खत्म करेंगे। धन्यवाद।
Thank you very much, Taralji. First of all, I'll be sharing my screen. Yeah, first I would like to thank everyone for giving the opportunity to present in this platform. This is the first time I'm presenting here on this platform. So thank you everyone.
वरुण जी थोड़ा लाउडली बोलिए और पास में आ जाइए या तो आप वो हटा। हाँ,
I need to share my screen. You have to give that permission. Yeah.
yes. अच्छा, you are not able to share?
I am not able to share.
Just
So meanwhile, as you all know, today we'll be discussing on the book called The Hidden Side of Things, written by C.W. LEADBEATER. So this book
please share the screen. Now you can.
Yes. Let me know once it is visible. Okay. So yeah, today, as we all know, we'll be discussing on this hidden side of things written by C.W. LEADBEATER. So this book is the book, The Hidden Side of Things. So this was initially published in the year 1913. So it was almost like 110 years back. And it took almost 10-12 years to write this book. And this covers 3-4 aspects. So one is how we get influenced by certain things that happens in the universe. So under this section, so how we get influenced by the sun, by the planets, by nature spirits, by different centers of magnetism, by sound. So these are the chapters that he covers under this section. So in the second section, he covers on how we influence others, how as human beings, so we influence others. So by our habits, by our physical environment, by our mental conditions, etc. And in the last phase, he also talks about how we influence others by what we are, by what we think, and by what we do. So these are the various chapters divided under different sections he has done. So initially, I thought I'll take up the first two chapters, how we are influenced by the planets and by the sun. So these are the slides. So today we'll look at only about how we get influenced by the planets. So we are not looking at how we are influenced by the sun today. We'll focus on only the planets. So this is the topic. This book has been selected for this year's youth conference as well. So this is the topic for 3 days that is going to be held in Adyar on 27, 28, 29. And my topic is the same topic that I'm presenting here today. So I thought this would be a kind of a rehearsal, presenting in front of most of the seniors. So please do give your feedback on what I have to improve or any modifications that I have to do. It will be a good rehearsal for me as well, and it can also help me better prepare the content for the youth conference. And so we'll go ahead without wasting much time. So as you all know, we'll be discussing on this by planets and by planets initially today. So these are the various topics I'll be covering. So first we'll look at radiation and what is meant by the solar system and what is the deity of the solar system and what are the different kinds of matter the solar system is made up of, what is the earth chain or the moon chain and how we get influenced by all that, and what are the different living centers, and eventually how all these things affect as a human being who are living in this planet Earth. So what are those influences? And out of those influences, so we perform certain actions. So how much of our actions are influenced by these factors, whether it is partially influenced, fully influenced, or whether it is not at all influenced. So these are the things that we are going to discuss in this session today. Initially, first I'll touch upon as it is a clairvoyant study. He clearly mentions that the classical work, the clairvoyant investigation. So most of the things will be scientific based, and we have to go hand in hand, scientific as well as the philosophical aspects of both. We have to consider while reading this book. Although it was written 100 years back, there are many scientific things that they have already touched upon this book. So to start off, he starts with radiation. So as we all know, we have to accept this fact. We have to accept this fact that it is necessary for us to realize is that everything is radiating influence on its surroundings. And these surroundings are all the while returning the compliment by pouring influence upon it in return. So when we talk about planets and sun, so we know that, for example, when we so there are various things. Suppose we take our own solar system. There is sun and there are various other planets that are there in our solar system, and each one is revolving in their own axis, and also it's revolving around the sun. So when they're doing this, they're always emitting certain radiations. They're electromagnetic radiations, which our senses cannot perceive. So we feel, because our senses we cannot perceive that, we feel that they might not have any influence on us, but whether we like it or no, all these radiations have some influence in some way or the other. It depends on how it impacts us, and how we'll see how these radiations impact us, how much it is going to impact. So one thing we have to be very clear is these radiations are there. It affects not only the Earth, it affects all the other planets. And it is not just this solar system that we know. Beyond this solar system, there are several other things in these galaxies So there are many things, many movements going on. So all that in one way or the other is emitting some sort of a radiation. So that will have some kind of an effect everywhere, not only the Earth. It may have its effects on some other planets, because that is a scheme of evolution. When there is movement, so there will be radiations. But as I already mentioned, so our physical senses can appreciate only a limited number of such radiations. For example, light. So we can see the light because it is at a certain range. We can hear the sound at particular frequency. Beyond a particular range, our senses cannot detect. The same way our eyes can see only the bandwidth of the visible light. There are X-rays, there are ultraviolet rays, there are many other rays which we cannot see. So that doesn't mean that does not have any effect on us. So that thing we have to make it as a base. That there are these radiations, and that will be affecting some way or the other. And even if we take astrology, for example, all these astrologers also consider these movements. We all know in India it is, everybody are very familiar with astrology compared to the Western nations. So they all predict, they make predictions, it's just a probability based on the positions of different planets. And there also it is radiations. It is actually the radiations, the vibrations, the frequencies which affect us, but they do not tell it scientifically, but they tell that based on the position of the planets that this might happen. They'll always say it might happen. They'll never say it will happen, because it might happen. It again depends on the individual, how he is receiving that and how he is reflecting on that. If a person is strong-willed, it may not affect. If a person is weak-willed, it may not affect. So it's only a probability. Astrologers also say the same thing. So that's what I'm saying in the third point. So it is not like radiation, like suppose now there is Earth here. My pointer is visible. So now there is Sun here and there is Earth here. And we might feel that around the Earth there is Mars and Venus and Mercury. So these three planets might affect the Earth more. And this Neptune and Venus are very far away from the Earth, and so it might not affect. We might feel scientifically, people who think scientifically may feel like that, but it is not the case. It is not on the distance. It doesn't matter whether it is our solar system. Even beyond our solar system, there are certain movements, certain evolutions happening. So all those effects will keep happening. So the more we contemplate on the matter, the less does it seem rational or possible to suppose that the planets affect the Earth or its inhabitants to any appreciable extent. Yet the fact remains that the theory based upon this apparent impossibility often works out accurately. So that's what. So yes.
Can you put this small diagram in a bigger frame, because it's very small. People are saying.
Yeah. No worry. This is not important. Coming slides, I have few pictures. So that
okay.
This is just to give you a example of this.
Please continue.
Yeah. So nothing to worry. So the second is the deity of the solar system. So occult students regard the entire solar system in all its vast complexity as a partial manifestation of one great living being, and all its parts as expressing aspects of him. So occult students and mostly people from theosophical background, they accept this fact that whatever this solar system is there, it's just a partial manifestation of that one great source, or that one great source of energy, and it is just a part of that. And in general, so in theosophical literature, this term we call it as logos. So we say this as a logos. And we usually speak of him as a solar deity. So when we are saying the deity, it is this logos. And this is very familiar for people who are in the background of Theosophical Society. Although I'm slightly deviating, so this image I'm taking from this book called The Solar System by Arthur Powell. So this is just to show the different schemes of evolution. So this is one solar logos. So like this, in this solar logos, there are 10 different schemes of evolution. So most of us know of these schemes of evolution. The first was the Vulcan scheme of evolution, which is shown by number 1 here. just yeah, shown by this Vulcan scheme, number 1, and number 2 is the Venus scheme, and the third one is the Earth scheme. So this 10 schemes make one solar logos, and this is and this solar and similar to this solar logos, there might be several other solar logos. There might be several other centers, and all these different logos are manifested from that one source. So that is what we call as logos. But in this book, for the case of simplicity, we'll just look at this solar logos, and we will particularly concentrate only on this Earth scheme. So we will talk about the evolution, how it happens, just for the Earth, just for the sake of simplicity, this particular day for this particular topic. So we will look at this. So the intention of this slide is to just give you that what this deity is, or what this logos means. So all the physical constituents of a solar system, the sun, the planets, the satellites, the oceans, the atmospheres, and various ethers surrounding them, all these are collectively his physical body. His physical body is nothing but that one common source, that universal source, the one initial logos, what we call. So it is all the physical expression. When we say the Earth is at the physical stage today, this physical expression just a representation of his physical body. So similarly, in the same way, as we say about the human evolution has this physical body, then the etheric, then the astral body, then the lower mental, higher mental, we say. So similarly, even the planets have that. Similarly, the Earth have this physical, the astral counterpart, the lower mental, the higher mental. So all these are the manifestation again of that universal logos, that initial single source of energy. The same thing. So in the same way, the collective astral worlds, not only the astral world belonging to each of the physical planets, but also the purely astral planets of all chains of system make his astral body. Again, all these, as we all will look at in the coming slides, it will become more clear. We know that in the physical body, the matters are denser, and as we go into the astral body, the matters become more lightweight, or it is much more, it's not as dense as it is in the physical, and as we move higher, it becomes lesser and lesser in density. So we know that different kinds of matter at different levels. Author simply says here as the chains of system, but it is very simple to say chains of system, but when we really understand what are these chains, what are these globes, in the next slide, so we will know the complexity of this entire arrangement and how it all impacts on the planets, not only on the planets, but also on the human beings living on those planets. So first we'll look at this particular chart. So for the sake of simplicity, we'll just look at this particular thing. So when we will take the example of the planet Earth. So planet Earth, we all know it is at the physical plane now. It does not mean that planet Earth directly came into the physical being. So before coming into the physical plane, it had to undergo all this. It passed through all these sessions, and it has come down to the physical stage. But this is not the end of it. So it has to go back to this original. So from the physical, again, it will go back, it will evolve itself, and it has to go back and reach that source. So that will take millions and millions of years. It's not going to happen in a very short duration. It is going to take millions of years. So at this physical stage, when we take Earth as an example, so this we can call it as a globe. It is at the densest. We can see that it is very, very, very dark. And when we take it as an astral or an emotional plane, so it is represented by dots, and it is slightly lesser denser. And as we go higher, it is given at a different representation, like in Adi or the monadic, or the first spiritual plane, the intuitional plane, or higher manner. So it is being represented at different symbols. That's all. So physically, when we say Earth, so Earth has a definite space in the planet. It revolves around the sun, we know, and it has a definite space. So we might have a question that then where are these other things? Where are these astral planes? So, and where is this lower mental, and whether it occupies different space? Now, Earth is somewhere at some distance from the sun. So he is astral somewhere else. It is not like that. So when you look at it from the top, so you can take this. You can say this as the earth, and surrounding that will be your astral, and above that will be your lower mental or higher mental, similar to what we see for the evolution of man. We would have seen all this diagram from man and his body. It is just the expansion of it. It does not occupy different space. It is just the expansion of the space where the earth is there. It is just an expansion of that. Everything is connected. Everything is interwoven and everything is interconnected. Only difference is it is made up of different kinds of matter. That is the most important thing. So the physical plane will have more denser particle as it is more as it tends more to the materialistic desires. So the higher the materialistic desire, the denser the particles it will be made of, the denser the matter that it will be made of. And as we go back, now it is in the physical, but it has to go back at some stage. It has to go back and reach the original from where it has come. So as it goes up, it has to leave behind all those desires. It has to evolve itself. It has to leave that material desires back. It has to evolve itself, and as it evolves, naturally the material becomes less denser as we go. Similar to what happens to what we have known happens to the evolution of a man individually, as we have seen. Same thing, same applies to the planets as well. So it does not occupy some physical globe. Physical globe does not occupy some space. Astral will not occupy some other place. It is all interwoven. It is just that it is made up of different kinds of matter. So that is the key takeaway from this diagram. So we will just look at the earth chain, as I said from the previous slide. We'll just look at the earth chain. And generally in the earth chain, there are 7 globes. All these round are called as globes. And for the earth chain, there are 3 physical planets represented by C, D, and E. So these are the 3 physical. So these are the 3 physical three physical states, and it will have 2 astral states, and it will have 2 lower mental states. So generally, the nomenclature is like this: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So this is the kind of nomenclature that is generally given in any text, be it in the Secret Doctrine also is there, and even in this book, The Solar System by Arthur Powell. So they follow the same kind of representation. So why is this 2 lower mental and why is this 2 astral? That we'll look at it on some other day. But for today's class, we'll just restrict ourselves to this information. We'll have this information and go ahead, because the more deeper we go in, the more things we have to keep explaining. So for the moment, we'll just, most of you might know, but for a few newcomers who does not know, just take this and we'll go ahead for today's class. So each of these things is called a globe. And during the process of evolution, what happens? Suppose the globe A that get into an active state, and B, C, D, E, F, and G will be dormant state. So one globe will be active, and other 6 globes will be dormant in the first stage. So that is this. Each thing is called a globe, and this entire thing, as I said, initially A will be active and all the other 6 will be at the dormant stage. In the second stage, B will be active and all the rest of the 6 will be inactive. Then C will be active and all the other 6 will be inactive. So like that, all the 6 globe has to go one cycle of active state. So that is called as one globe period. So this number 7 has very high significance in terms of philosophy or in terms of astrology, or you take any this number 7 has a very, very significant value. We'll look at this. Why is it so? Because as I said, when each globe completes one stage of activation, it does not stop there. It will repeat 7 times. So A will get activated 7 times. So B will be activated 7 times, C 7 times, D 7 times, and that entire thing will undergo 7 times of 7 times it undergoes the scheme of in the scheme of evolution. It undergoes seven times of activation. So that is represented by this 7 lines that you can see here. There are 7 lines here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. So that indicates that each globe gets activated 7 times, and this one round is called one globe period. So diagram 4 illustrates 7 rounds of Earth chain. The spiral line indicating the stream of life, which passes 7 complete times around the whole chain of 7 globes. So out of this diagram, what we can conclude is there are 7 globe periods. So this one round is called one globe period. So when 7 globe periods completes, means when there are 7 times each of these globe activates, so that is called as one round. So after one round, it does not complete there. So the entire thing repeats again 7 times. So 7 into 7 becomes 49. So this one thing is called a globe period. And when it repeats 7 times, as shown in this diagram, it becomes 7 into 7, 49 globe periods. And this 49 globe periods becomes 7 rounds. And this 7 rounds becomes one chain. So in the previous slide, I was telling about this chain. So it's
Varunji, 3 minutes to sum up first part.
Yeah. So I'll take little more time in the first part, maybe 5 minutes, but second part will go easy because if we don't understand this, then it's
Okay.
cannot go. Yeah. Yeah. So this becomes one chain period. So for the Earth, to complete this one chain period, it takes close to 600 or 700 million years. There is a definite figure given, but that figure is not important to us, but we can just say it will take millions and millions of years. So it's such a vast scheme of evolution, and everything is so perfectly set. It's what we are talking about is just for the Earth scheme of evolution. As we saw in the other slide, there is Vulcan scheme, there's Venus scheme, there's Earth scheme. So everything is going on in parallel. Everything is going on simultaneously, and all these movements of these planets and all this different evolution of all these planets at different levels, they keep emitting radiations. One way or the other, it keeps affecting the planet Earth. Since we are living as human beings in the planet Earth, it also affects us because we are also made up of some kind of matter. So Earth is now in the physical state. So we are also in the physical state. So when Earth is in the physical state, it is made up of certain kind of matters, denser, coarser. It may be a mix and match of various kind of matters. Similarly, humans are also made of different kinds of matters. So if the Earth gets affected by all these radiations, so we human beings living on the Earth also will be influenced to some extent by these radiations. So from the starting slide, radiations to the deities, to this change, when we connect all these 4 or 5 slides that what we have seen in the last, we will come to know that irrespective in all the scheme of evolution, in one way or the other, since we are living on this planet Earth, and we are also made of some kind of matter at physical, at our astral plane, different individuals have different kinds of matter based on at what stage of evolution we are. So if the astral matter of the Earth gets affected, the astral matter of the our physical bodies also get affected. It's not just the animals, it's not just the humans, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, whatever is there, whatever matter is there, everything gets affected. So that's the whole key point that we have to take out from this. So we all say that we all get offended, right? Why am I not able to change? We hardly live for 80 years, 90 years, at the max 100 years. So when we compare with the scheme of evolution of Earth, it is like 690, 700 millions of years of evolution. So it is change. Change is very, very slow. So we cannot compare 60, 70 years to 690, 700 millions. We always say that why I am not changing, why this person is not able to change. He is the same from last 30, 40 years, 50 years. If we could change so easily, then it is not in one lifetime, is a very, very, very small time to change. That thing we have to take away. And yeah, that's the thing. And for us, like 400-500 years is history. We talk of Mughals, we talk of that this, and we sort of divide. We develop that kind of hatred for different civilizations from the history, which is just 400-500 years ago. But it's way beyond this all bigger scheme of evolution. When we think of all this, our ego, Earth itself is a speck. Earth itself is a speck in this entire system. When you look at this entire solar logos, Earth itself is just a speck. In that Earth, we are just a dust. When we compare to we are just like a dust. But we feel that our problems, our egos are much bigger than all these things. So that we need to think of that. And this is the last slide. I will stop my first part here.
Okay.
So as I said, it's just a continuation of the previous slide. As I said already, it's made of different kinds of matter. So all these matters, point number 3 and 4 is the key in this slide. So these 2 points are the key. So it has been often explained that the astral body of man, matter belonging to each of the astral subsections, is to be found, and that the proportion between the denser and the finer kinds shows how far the body is capable of responding to coarse or refined desires. So it is to some extent an indication of the degree to which the man has evolved himself. So as I was mentioning in the previous slide, if the astral body of a man contains some kind of a matter, and how coarse is it or how refined is it, so that shows the how much a man has evolved himself. So that is that is how we have to relate. Because when we are talking of how we get influenced by the planets, how we get influenced by the earth, so this is how we get influenced. There will be changes in the astral body of the man, and that changes will directly show how much a man is evolved. So similarly, in each astral body, there is matter of each of these types. And in this case, the proportion between them will show the disposition of the man, whether he is devotional or philosophic or artistic or scientific. So depending on the kind of astral matter that each one of us possess, it may be slightly denser for me, it may be slightly coarser for somebody else, because there are so many people, and we are all at different stages of evolution. So depending on the permutation and combination and arrangement of this kind of matter in us, so determines whether we are philosophic, whether we are artistic. So people who are clairvoyant can see this matter, arrangement of this matter and this aura, what we speak of, right? They can see different colors because they are made up of different kinds of matter, and that tells us what kind of a characteristic we are, what kind of core characteristic that each one of us possesses. So that is how we have to link from the chapter, from the first slide till these different types of matter. So how it affects. So in brief, I have done it very fast, but I'll stop here and I will go back to the translation. I'll give the opportunity for the translation. Yeah, that's it. In the first half, I would like to stop here. Maybe if there is any doubts, we can come back later. But yeah, please, translators.
So please remove the sharing of the slide.
I thought let it be. So when they're translating, I will move.
Okay, fine.
So that
So
people
I'll
can
give
relate.
the introduction of Deepika ji. Deepika PATE ji is a member of Raja Mundre Theosophical Lodge. उन्होंने टेक्निकल स्टडीज अपनी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स और कम्युनिकेशन में पूरी की हैं, ग्रेजुएशन पूरा किया है पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में, और अभी रिक्रूटमेंट मैनेजर की तरह कोटक महिंद्रा ग्रुप के साथ कार्य कर रही हैं। एजुकेशनल ट्रेनर रही हैं आईआईटी स्टूडेंट्स की एंड इंजीनियरिंग स्टूडेंट्स की, लेक्चरर की तरह उन्होंने काम किया है और एज अ प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर इन फ्यूचर जनरली, और बहुत सारी स्पिरिचुअल मीटिंग में उन्होंने भाग लिया हुआ है। क्लासिकल डांस वो सीखती हैं, सिखाती हैं और परफॉर्मेंस भी करती है, कुचिपुड़ी और भरतनाट्यम। सेंटेनरी जो सेलिब्रेशन होते हैं तेलुगु फेडरेशन के, उनने उसमें भी भाग लिया हुआ है, 2021 में भी लिया है। साईराम पाटे जिन्हें हम बहुत अच्छी तरह से जानते हैं, उनके साथ उनका शादी हुई है और हस्बैंड वाइफ दोनों ही थियोसॉफी में सक्रिय हैं, लेकिन भारत की आज़ादी को करीब 75 साल हो गए और 70 साल से जो दीपिका जी की फैमिली है वो थियोसॉफी से जुड़ी हुई है बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग तरीके से। 1 मिनट लूंगा मैं कि उन्होंने मतलब उनके पिताजी जो हैं गोपाला कृष्णा, वो सेक्रेटरी हैं राजमरी थियोसॉफिकल लॉज के और तेलुगु फेडरेशन के लेक्चरर हैं। उनके पेरेंट्स जो हैं वो स्पिरिचुअली में इतना बिलीव करते थे कि जब वो 2 साल की थी तभी से उनको थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी में आना जाना उन्होंने शुरू किया। हालांकि वो प्रभावित हुई उनकी आंटी जे रानी के द्वारा, जो उस वक्त प्रेसिडेंट थी थियोसॉफिकल लॉज की, और कंटिन्यू ये 70 साल से एक उनके ब्लड में और उनके परिवार में थियोसॉफी चली आ रही है। उनके फादर के जो फादर थे के अप्पा राव, वो AA फ्रॉम मुंबई यूनिवर्सिटी थे और SBI में मैनेजर भी थे, थियोसॉफिस्ट भी थे, और वो अडियार उन्हें बहुत अच्छा लगता था। तो ऐसी मतलब जो 70 साल से थियोसॉफी में परिवार है, उसकी दीपिका जी आप आमंत्रित हैं। आपको 9 मिनट हैं, लेकिन अगर विषय बड़ा है तो आप 10-11 मिनट ले सकती हैं। धन्यवाद जी।
అంటే ముఖ్యంగా తరగతికి నాకు అవకాశం ఇచ్చినందుకు ధన్యవాదాలు.
वॉइस क्लियर नहीं आ रहा आपका
నా పేరు
दीपिका जी, थोड़ा आगे आके बोलिए। और अगर आप कुछ और इस्तेमाल कर रही हैं अदर देन
ఓకే.
डोंट यूज, शायद आप और कुछ माइक्रोफोन वगैरह मत यूज कीजिए, बोलिए या प्लीज कंटिन्यू। आई थिंक शी इज डिस्कनेक्टेड। अर्चना जी जरा देखिए गैलरी व्यू में। हेलो अर्चना जी।
సారీ సార్. am I audible?
या यू आर ऑडिबल। ओके, या गो अहेड।
Yeah, okay, sir. మనం ముందుగా ఇప్పుడు ఈ వరుణ్ గారు చెప్పింది మనం అనువాదించుకుంటే కనుక మనం ముందుగా ఈ అధ్యాయాన్ని వివరంగా తెలుసుకుందాం. ఇదేంటంటే మనకి సౌర కుటుంబం, ఈ గ్రహాలు వాటి నుంచి మనం ఎలా ప్రభావితం చెందుతాం అనే దాని మీద మనం చర్చించుకుంటున్నాం. ఇందులో ముందుగా మనం గమనించాల్సింది ఏంటంటే అన్ని వస్తువులు, అన్ని పదార్థాలు వాటి యొక్క పరిసరాలకే ప్రభావితం చెందుతాయి. అలాగే వాటి నుంచి వచ్చే తరంగాలకే పరిస్థితులు ప్రభావితం జరుగుతాయి. అది ప్రతి జీవిలో ఉన్న శక్తి నుంచి, అంటే వైబ్రేషన్, వాటి నుంచి ఒకదానిపై ఒకటి ప్రభావితం చెందుతూ ఉంటాయి. అలాగే సూర్యుడు, చంద్రుడు, నక్షత్రాలు, అలా మానవులు ఒకదానిపై ఒకటి ప్రభావితం చెందుతూ ఉంటారు. అందులో జంతువులు, చెట్లు, వృక్షాలు, రాళ్ళు, మరికొన్ని వాటి యొక్క ప్రకంపనలతో నిరంతరం వాటి యొక్క ప్రవాహాన్ని జరిపిస్తూ ఉంటాయి, అంటే రేడియేషన్. వాటి యొక్క స్వంత లక్షణాలకే అవి ఈ ప్రకంపనలు అన్నవి జరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి, అంటే లెవెల్ ఆఫ్ ద వైబ్రేషన్. వీటిలో సూక్ష్మం నుంచి, అంటే మైన్యూట్ పదార్థాల నుంచి మనకి అది చాలా పెద్దదిగా కూడా జరుగుతుంది. అయితే మనం భౌతిక ఇంద్రియాలు, అంటే మనం స్వీకరించేది మన ఇంద్రియాల బట్టి జరుగుతుంది. ఇలాంటి శక్తి విచ్ఛేదములు, ఇంకొక జీవన నుంచి మనం ప్రభావితం చెందడం, ఇవన్నీ కూడా మన యొక్క స్థాయి నుంచి వాటిని స్వీకరించడం లేదా వ్యతిరేకించడం అనేది జరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి. వీటిలో మనం ముఖ్యంగా ఈ సౌర కుటుంబాన్ని నుంచి మనం కంపేర్ చేసుకుంటూ, అంటే పరిశీలన చేసుకుంటూ ఉంటున్నాం. ఏంటంటే సూర్యుడి నుంచి, అలాగే అగ్ని ఫైర్ నుంచి మనకి ఒక హీట్ అన్నది, అంటే వేడి అన్నది ప్రవహిస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అది మన మానవుడు బాడీ, శరీరం నుంచి కూడా మనం వేడి అన్నది బయటకి విస్తరణ జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. దాన్ని మనం చాలా రకాలైన ఇన్స్ట్రుమెంట్స్ నుంచి మనం తెలుసుకోవచ్చు. అయితే ఇలాగే మానవుడు అనే మానవుడు, జీవుడు అనేది సూర్యుడి నుంచి, నక్షత్రాల నుంచి, గ్రహాల నుంచి వాటి జీవితాలపై ఎంత ప్రభావం జరుగుతుంది. అదే మనకి యాక్చువాలిటీ పరంగా కూడా చెప్తూ ఉంటారు. ఇందులో మనం గమనించాల్సిన విషయం
दीपिका जी,
ఏంటంటే
थोड़ा सा साउंड क्लियर नहीं आ रहा है आपका. क्या आप दो कुछ ऑन करके रखे हो क्या? नहीं, पिक्चर इज वेरी क्लियर, पिक्चर में कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन साउंड क्रैकल्ड आ रहा है थोड़ा. क्या आपने दो चीज ऑन कर रखी है क्या वीडियो पर? नहीं, आप कुछ पैनिक मत होइए, पहले आप स्टेबल रहिए. मुझे खाली ये जवाब दीजिए. प्लीज टेल मी, आर यू यूजिंग टू थिंग्स फॉर स्पीकर और ओनली फ्रॉम मोबाइल?
No sir, only mobile.
Okay.
1 minute, 1 second.
Yeah, now it is coming slightly clear. Okay, go ahead. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, am I audible sir? Is it clear now? Hello?
Continue, please continue.
Okay, sir. మనం ఈ సౌర ప్రపంచం నుంచి, ఈ జ్యోతిష్యాల నుంచి మనం చాలా ప్రపంచం చూస్తూ ఉంటాం. అందులో ముఖ్యంగా మనం మర్చిపోయే అంశం ఏంటంటే ఈ భూగోళం అన్నది ఏ లెవెల్లో ఉంది, ఏ పొజిషన్ లో ఉంది అంటే వాటి స్థానాలు కూడా మనకి ప్రభావితం చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. మనం వాస్తవానికి చెప్పుకోవాలి అంటే సూర్యుడి నుంచి వెలువడే శక్తి నుంచి, గ్రహాల నుంచి, ఇతర గ్రహాల నుంచి వెలువడే శక్తి నుంచి మన భూమిపై పడే ప్రభావం అన్నది చాలా అతి తక్కువ స్థాయిలో ఉంటుంది. ఎందుకంటే వాటి గ్రహాల యొక్క స్థానాలు అలాగే మన గ్రహం ఉన్న దూరం బట్టి కూడా ఇది ప్రభావితం చెందుతూ ఉంటుంది. ఇది చాలా మంది జ్యోతిష్కులు కూడా తెలుసుకోకుండా ఈ అంశాన్ని పక్కన పెట్టి మనకి చాలా విషయాలు చెప్తూ ఉంటారు. అవి మనం కొంచెం నమ్ముతూ ఉంటాం. వాటిని ఎంతవరకు నమ్మాలి, ఎంతవరకు చేయాలన్నది మనం ఆలోచించుకుంటూ అలాగే జ్ఞానం తెలుసుకుంటూ ఉంటే వాటిపై అధ్యయనం చేస్తే తప్ప మనకు వాటి స్థాయి తెలుస్తుంది. అలాగే ఈ భూమి గ్రహాలని మన మనుషులకి కూడా మనం చూసుకుంటే మనకి 7 రకాల శరీరాలు అన్నది మనకి ఉంటాయి. అందులో ఆది శరీరం, ఆది అన్నది ఇంకా ఉన్నతమైనది. ఫస్ట్ స్థూల శరీరం, కామ శరీరం, సూక్ష్మ మనసు, ఉన్నత మనసు, బుద్ధి, ఆత్మ, అనుపాదక శరీరం, అలాగే ఆది శరీరం. వీటన్నిటిని 7 రకాలుగా విభజన జరిగి ఉన్నది. ఇందులో మనం ఒక సైకిల్ అనగా
Is it over?
We cannot understand. Have you finished, Deepika ji? Hello, can you hear me?
yes ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Is your speech
Yes
finished?
madam. Sorry, I think network.
I think your connection is not correct.
A minute.
Maybe we'll continue with Hindi.
I think if she is not there, we'll continue. Yeah, please continue.
Sir, am I audible, sir? Am I clear now?
Now you are clearly audible. Please go ahead.
Okay. Sorry for the inconvenience.
No, this is perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay then.
Go.
మనకి అలా కారణ శరీరాలు అన్నవి 7 ఉంటాయి. వీటిలో మనం ఏ స్థాయిలో ఉంటాము అన్న దాని మీద మనకి ఈ గ్రహాలచే అలాగే సౌర కుటుంబంచే వెలువడే అంశాలు శక్తి నుంచి మనం ఎంత ప్రభావితం చెందుతాం అన్నది ఆధారపడి ఉంటది. ఇందులో ఒక రౌండ్ అంటే ఒక పూర్తి చుట్టూ అన్నది ఏంటంటే 7 శరీరాల యొక్క కలయిక. అలాగే 7 సార్లు ఎప్పుడైతే మనం ఆ 7 శరీరాలని 7 సార్లు దాటుతూ ఉంటామో అలా మార్పు చెందుతూ వస్తూ ఉంటది. దాన్ని ఒక చైన్, ఒక వరస అని అంటాం. ఇందులో మొత్తంగా 49 భూస్థానాలు ఉంటాయి. ఇవన్నీ కూడా సమానంగా జరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి. ఏవి కూడా దేని మీద ప్రభావితం చెందవు. అవి మనం స్వీకరించే దాన్ని బట్టి, మనం ఉన్న స్థాయి బట్టి ప్రభావితం జరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి. అందుకే మనం ఆత్మ జ్ఞానాన్ని తెలుసుకుంటూ ఉంటూ మనం వాటిపై ఒక జ్ఞానం పెంచుకుంటే మనకి అది మనకి ఆ ప్రభావితం అన్నది మనకి తెలుస్తూ ఉంటుంది. ఇవన్నీ ఒకదానిపై ఒకటి ఆధారపడుతూనే ఉంటాయి. ఎందుకంటే మానవుడు ఆధారపడే జీవి. మానవుడే కాదు, ప్రతి సౌర కుటుంబంలో ఉన్నదంతా కూడా ఆధారపడే జీవి. అందుకు ప్రతి అవి తయారైన పదార్థాలచే జీవులు నివసించే స్థానాలు, అలాగే వాతావరణం, ఇవన్నీ కూడా వాటిని ప్రభావితం చేస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఇందులో ముఖ్యంగా మనం తెలుసుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే మార్పు. మనం ఎంతవరకు మార్పు చెందుతున్నాం, మనకున్న జ్ఞానాన్ని ఎంతవరకు సరైన మార్గంలో ఆచరిస్తూ మనం ఉన్నత స్థానానికి ఎటువంటి మంచి పద్ధతిలో మనం జ్ఞానాన్ని తెలుసుకుంటూ అడుగు వేస్తున్నాం అన్నదే మనలోని మార్పు. అలాగే ఈ భూగ్రహాలచే ఎలా అయితే ప్రభావితం ఉంటుందో ఇది మనం మానవ జీవితానికి సమానంగా చూసుకుంటే మన నుంచి కూడా మన చుట్టూ ఉన్న వారికి కానీ సమాజానికి కానీ ప్రభావితం అలాగే ఉంటుంది. అలాగే వారిచే మన మీద కూడా ప్రభావితం ఉంటుంది. అది మనం ఎంతవరకు మారాలి, ఎంతవరకు మంచిది అన్నది మన జ్ఞానం బట్టి తెలుసుకుంటూ ముందుకు సాగడం బట్టి ఉంటుంది. ఇది మిగతాది తర్వాత అధ్యయనంలో చూద్దాం. నెక్స్ట్ ఇన్ 10 minutes. Sir.
Hello.
Excuse me, sir. Is it?
The part 1 got over,
Part
right?
1 is over.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Varun bhai, I think Binaji disconnected, so it would be better if you can take along the part 2 also. Okay?
Yes, I'll start part 2. Screen visible.
Yeah.
So in the last few slides, we saw different kinds of matter. And in the initial diagram that I saw, the solar logos, I said there are 10 different chains of evolution, Vulcan, Earth, and different kinds. So that each thing we can take it as a living center. So he says, the author says here that now each of these types of matter in the astral body of the solar deity is to some extent a separate vehicle and may be thought of as also an astral body of a subsidiary deity or minister who is at the same time an aspect of deity of the system, a kind of a ganglion or a force center in him. So if all these types differ among themselves, it is because the matter composing them originally came forth through different living centers. So we saw one living center. So like that, there may be different living centers, and each of these different living centers are composed of different kinds of matter. And each of these solar logos is ruled by a certain minister or a deity. So it's not like the solar logos, there is just one deity. There might be different deities, and each of these different deities have different living centers. And these different living centers are composed of different kinds of matter. So depending on from where this kind of matter has come, so they will have different compositions, so different kinds of characteristics. And similarly, all these characteristics of these different matters, they get affected by this radiation, and that gets transferred to all the different planets which are in the space, and through the planets, so it will affect even the human beings. So in a very simple way, if you have to understand, so there might be many living centers. So that is the main key takeaway which we can take from this slide. So slightest movement of thought or alteration to any kind of him is instantly reflected in some way or the other in the matter of the corresponding type. Point number 3. So as we know that through vibration. So even though when there's a slightest change in any one of these living centers, so that gets transmitted through the matter that each of these living centers is composed. So that is the meaning of it. So any slight movement, any slight alteration, that gets automatically reflected to the matter. And that matter, in that same kind of matter is there everywhere, in the Earth's physical, in the Earth's astral, and even in the human's physical, human astral. So if a matter of one kind gets affected somewhere, the same kind of it gets translated, comes down, and the influence, degree of influence may change, but definitely the influence will definitely be there. So that is the key takeaway. Since every man has within himself matter of all these types, it is obvious that any modification in or action of any one of these great living centers must to some degree affect all beings in the system. The extent to which any particular person is so affected depends upon the proportion of the type of matter acted upon which he happens to have in his astral body. So as we saw in the different kinds of matter slide, so each each individual is made up of different kinds of astral matter. So each of us get affected differently. So since if Earth gets affected in its astral matter in some kind, so same thing is reflected upon the humans also. So that is what this entire thing means. So everything in the solar system, as I was initially mentioning, it's not just the humans or the animals, even the animals and the plant kingdom. So everything gets affected. So everything in the solar system belongs to one or other of the 7 great streams, because it has came out through one or other of these great force centers, to which therefore it belongs in essence, although it must inevitably be affected more or less by the others also. So as we know, we talked about the chains, we talked about 7 rounds, 7 chains, everything. So when we break it down further, it becomes 7 root rays, as we all say. So we all know that people with the theosophical background, we know that the Earth is in the 4th chain and the 4th round. And when it comes to the root rays, so we are in the 5th root rays. So the 4th root rays was the Atlantean root rays. And number 4 is always the point of conflict between spirit and matter. So Atlantean root rays, we know what happened. It had to be eradicated. It has to be dissolved, and a new root rays had to come up. So now we are in the Aryan root rays. So earlier it was the 4th root rays was the Atlantean root rays, and that had to be submerged. So Pralaya, we say, right? So it went down into the waters. So Earth also took some cyclic changes. So everything, it got dissolved, and then kind of a new kind of a formation came out. And through the evolution of the Earth, now we are in the 5th root ray, we call the Aryan root ray, and we are about to progress to the 6th. The Aryan root ray is almost at the end. We don't know approximately when it ends, because these numbers are kept secret. Only they give the number, but it's only an approximation. So it might happen at 2,000 years, 3,000 years or something. So we are moving from the Aryan root race to the next root race. So we are at the edge of that. So when we break down, so everything is 7, 7, 7, 7. So 7 root rays. When we break it down further into 7 sub root rays, so it comes to the Indo-European race. That is the first sub ray, and then the third is, I think, the Latin root race. So it goes on. So everything is 7. The prominence of 7 is that's what I was mentioning. But the key takeaway from all this thing is, this gives each man, each animal, each plant, each mineral a certain fundamental characteristic which never changes, sometimes symbolized as his note, his color, or his ray. So again, it talks about ray, but when we go into further, so this is how we can classify, we can relate to the Aryan root ray, what happened there, and the Atlantean root rays. So everything is getting influenced by these living centers. So that is what is meant to say. So now we have seen all this. We have seen the Earth scheme of evolution is so complex. It takes so much so many years to evolve. So what kind of an influence does it have on the humans? So these influences belong to these different types. Types differ widely in quality, and one way in which their difference shows itself is in their action upon the living elemental essence, both in man and around him. Be it ever remembered that his dominance is exerted in all worlds, not only in the astral. So again, here is pointing out that these influences are not just limited to any one particular plane, physical plane or the astral plane, but the entire book, he focuses mainly on the physical and the astral plane. That is why always it talks about only these two planes, but it does not mean that these influences are restricted to only these two worlds, these two planes. It has its effects in everything, but for the sake of simplicity, because we can easily relate to the physical and the astral compared to the lower mental or the higher mental. So that is the reason he restricts. He clearly mentions in the first introduction that this entire book is mainly around this physical and astral and not beyond that. So all the examples that he gives are mostly to these two planes. So there are all sorts of combinations and permutations of these mystic powers, the action of one of them being in some case greatly intensified and in other almost neutralized by the presence of other. Again, as in astrology, it is a way permutation and combination of various kinds of these electromagnetic waves or these radiations that is coming due to various influences that is happening in the universe. So again, it's permutation and combination of this, how it gets influenced, how it gets intensified. Some of the things might get intensified, and when it gets intensified, something good or bad happens, or sometimes it might get neutralized also. So the chances of both are there. So since this elemental essence is vividly active in the astral and the mental bodies of man, it is clear that any unusual excitation of any of these classes of that essence, any sudden increase in its activity must undoubtedly affect to some extent either his emotions or his mind or both. Again, as we were discussing initially, so all these has its effect on the human being also. So it might affect his emotions, it might affect his thoughts, or both. We'll see how much, to what degree, whether it controls fully or partially, or it does not have any control. So we know for sure now it has some influence, although not fully, it has some influence. But do they really affect our actions, or how much does it impact our actions in our lifetime? That we'll see in the next few slides. So these influences neither exist nor are exercised for the sake of the man with any reference to him. They are part of play of cosmic forces of whose object we know nothing, though we may to some extent learn how to calculate upon them and use them. Such energies in themselves are of no good or evil than any other powers of nature, like electricity or any other great natural force. They may be helpful or hurtful to us according to the use we make of them. This is very, very important. So they may be helpful or hurtful according to the use that we make use of them. So there will be movement of this planets or whatever is going on. So because of that movement, there will be radiation. And because of the radiation, we know we all get affected in some way or the other. But it may be helpful or hurtful depending on how we make use of them. So this is a very important point. No doubt it will have influence. But if our will, if the person's individual's will is very, very high, it may not have any influence. It may be that it might influence others, but if the person's will is very, very high, it may not affect at all. Like he gives the example of electricity. So electricity, it can be useful, but at the same time, it can be harmful depending on how we use it, electricity. So we know if there is a short circuit, so it will harm us. So we will not do that. So we will use it the way we want it to be. So in the same way, these radiations also affects us. So we have seen the influence. So definitely it has some influence. Now we will look at how much it impacts our action. So it is of utmost importance for us to understand that such pressure cannot dominate man's will. Very important point. So that's what we were telling. So it cannot dominate the man's will with the slightest degree, no matter what kind of radiations come, what intensity it comes. If the man's will is there, it cannot dominate. So man's will be superior. It will overtake it. It may cause some minor effect, but it will definitely not, it cannot dominate man's will. So all it can do in some cases is to make it easier or more difficult for what that will to act along certain lines. In no case can a man be swept away by it into any course of action without his own consent, though he may evidently be helped or hindered by it in any effort that he chances to be making. Again, it's very clear. If the man's will is there, so it cannot dominate. Always the man's will takes a higher prominence. So we must guard ourselves against these fatal mistakes, against the fatal mistake of supposing the influence to be evil, because man's passions turn into evil effect. So it is man's passion that if we are more materialistic, so definitely these kind of influences will harm us. So it is man's passion. So how passionate we are, our actions depend on that. So similarly, these forces will have its impact on us. So the force itself is simply a wave of activity sent forth from one of the centers of the deity, as we discussed in the previous slides. So the increased activity produced incidentally by it means in the astral body of the man offers him an opportunity of testing his powers to manage his vehicles. And whether he succeeds or fails in this, it is still one of the lessons which help him in his evolution. Again, it is telling of the same thing. So it gives us an opportunity. So it puts us in some kind of a situation. All these different situations that we go through is because mainly through our thoughts. So we are used to certain kind of thoughts, and because of those thoughts, we keep taking some kind of an action. And out of those actions, we get into some kind of a trouble, or sometimes we get out of the trouble. It depends on what kind of action we take. Suppose we all know we all evolve in cycles. So Earth evolves in cycles. We have seen that in the slides 777. So similarly, humans also evolve in cycle. So we need to think in what kind of a cycle we are stuck. Suppose we are getting the same kind of problems again and again in our life. That means we have to learn something out of that problem, and we are not learning. If we learn, if we take the correct action, maybe we will get over that problem. Or if we fail and if we get stuck to that same old cycle of thinking, again we will do some action out of the old kind of a thinking, and again we'll get into the same kind of problem. So we have to think whether we are getting stuck in a problem. If we are getting stuck in a problem again and again, same kind of a problem, whether it's financial, spiritual, whatever kind of problem it may be, health. If we are getting stuck again and again, that means we have to learn something, and we are not learning out of. Unless we learn, so we are always stuck with the same kind of matter in our astral and our physical body. Only when we learn, when we evolve ourselves, only then we can get rid of and we can move into a dense, finer kind of a material. So when those changes happen in the physical, the same kind of changes starts reflecting in our astral. It is the same. As the astral body can affect the physical, in the reverse way also, if there are significant changes in our physical, it automatically affects even the astral. It is again the radiation. Radiation which is coming from the solar system can affect the physical. The reverse is also the same. The reverse changes also happens because of radiation. Because each individual, if I am sitting here, I am emitting a lot of radiation. If I put a meter and check how much radiations I am affecting, there are instruments today to capture that. Suppose the heat waves, suppose I am 10-15 feet far away, and if I keep an instrument 15 feet far away from me, it can detect the kind of heat waves that I am emitting. That again depends on my thought, my feelings. If I'm angry, that intensity will be high. If I'm calm, that intensity will be low. It is there with every thought. It is there with every action. So it all boils down to that. So karma may throw a man into certain surroundings or bring him under certain influences, but it can never force him to commit a crime, though it may so place him that it requires great determination on his part to avoid that crime. Again, we are coming to the same point. Situations can put us into some kind of a different external influences can put us into some situation now. But what action I'll take at this moment entirely depends on my will. what I want to do, whether I want to do the same thing what I did yesterday, or whether I have to do something else so that I want to try something, or whether I have to do the right thing to get rid of this problem. So again, so no matter what kind of external influences, what kind of influences all these radiations may have from different kinds of evolution, whatever we have seen, different schemes, different root rays, it might be anything. So there is always a chance to improve. So it all again boils down to the man's will. So that is the biggest takeaway from this entire chapter. So how do we get influenced by the planets? Definitely, yes, we get influenced by the planets. It has its influence, but again, it comes back to the individual. It's the soul's, it's the man's will which can bring about change. So when we bring about change in our physical, it automatically starts reflecting in our astral, and automatically all the different kinds of matter that make up the different planes, everything undergoes changes, and that is where our consciousness grows, and that is where we can evolve. Evolution takes place for the earth, same way the evolution is taking place for the individual also. So it is that the entire takeaway from the entire chapter is that although the content is very vast, if we get into the details, it is very vast, but if we want to go through at the surface level also, we can take out the message. But when we go into this change, understand everything, it is related, so we become more aware. And we start to think, we need to question. Just because it is given, we should not believe. If I say the earth is at the 5th root ray or the earth is at the 4th chain, we need to go back. Scientifically, there are a lot of evidence. Because of the lack of time, I am not speaking of all that. But just to give one example, the scientists discovered that Neptune has a satellite. Similarly, similar to Earth has a moon. So moon was one time a planet. So moon has completed the 7 chains, what I said. So 7th chain is complete and it is about to get dissolved. So moon, we don't know. It might take, it will not happen 100, 200 years. It might take a little longer. So moon is at the last final stage. So it is going to disappear. So similar thing happened to Neptune. Neptune also had a similar planet, and scientists observed this some 200, 300 years ago. But people who are philosophic, means through this clairvoyant, had predicted that Neptune's satellite that is going to disappear after its 7th chain. Scientists did not believe. Scientists had a proof that Neptune had this kind of a satellite. But over the last 100, 200 years, scientists are not able to find that. What was present 200, 300 years ago, that is not there for Neptune. So that is how scientists started to believe, yes, there is some kind of a cyclic evolution there. After the 7th round, it disappeared. So similar thing is going to happen to moon very shortly, and similar thing will happen to the earth. So earth is at the 4th round, I'm telling. 4th round, it is telling. So after completing the 7th, the earth should also disappear. What happens after it disappears? Again, it will form different kinds of matter, different densities of matter. Again, 7 new different globes will start. Out of the 7 different globes, again that evolution starts. That is what, if you go into depth, so this is what we get.
Please
I'll stop here.
Yeah,
I'll stop here. So this is.
Then we can have extra time after that.
Sure.
Yes, Deepika ji, please go ahead.
I'll stop here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Switch on of the screen share. Thank you. Yes, Deepika ji, please go ahead.
ఓకే థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. ఇందాక మనం చెప్పుకున్నట్టు దానికి సమానంగా మనం తర్వాత అధ్యయనంలోకి వెళ్తే అందరిలో కూడా ఒక అనుమానం తలెత్తచ్చు. ఏంటంటే కొన్ని విషయాలు మనం నమ్ముతున్నట్టుగా, అంటే జ్యోతిష శాస్త్రం కానీ ఏదైనా ఒక శక్తి మనల్ని ప్రభావితం చేస్తుంది, దానివల్ల మనం చాలా కష్టాలకి లోనవుతున్నాం, లేదా ఇంకా మిగతా మానసిక అంశాలకి లోనవుతున్నాం అని మనం నమ్మినట్లయితే అక్కడ మనం ఆలోచించాల్సింది ఏంటంటే, దానిని మనం నమ్మడం వల్ల కూడా మనం ఒక శక్తిని స్వీకరిస్తున్నాము. అంటే ఏంటంటే అది నెగటివ్, అంటే మంచి కాని సెట్ అవ్వచ్చు, లేదంటే మంచి సెట్ అవ్వచ్చు. దాన్ని మనం ఎంతవరకు మనం స్వీకరిస్తున్నాం అన్న దాని మీద కూడా ఆధారపడి ఉంటది. దాంట్లో ముఖ్యంగా ఏంటంటే మనం మొట్టమొదటిగా మన ఆలోచనల్ని ఎలా పెట్టుకోవాలంటే ఎలా పెట్టుకోవాలంటే మనకి ఎంతవరకు మన జ్ఞానము ఉపయోగపడుతుంది, అలాగే మన శక్తి ఎంత స్థాయి నుంచి మనకి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. అంటే నేను చెప్పేది ఏంటంటే ఒక పరిస్థితి మనకి ఎదురవుతుంది అంటే మనం దాన్ని చేయగలుగుతున్నామా, దాన్ని దాటి మనం ఓవర్కమ్ చేయగలుగుతున్నామా లేదా అన్నది మనలోనే ఉంటుంది. కాబట్టి దాన్ని ఇందులో సౌర కుటుంబం లో నుంచి మనం చూసినట్టయితే మనం ఇందాక చెప్పుకున్నట్టు అన్ని సమానంగా జరుగుతూ ఉంటాయి. ఏది కూడా ఒక దాని గురించి ఆగదు. ఎలా అంటే మన సమయం లాగా, అంటే గడియారంలో సమయం లాగా మనకి ఏది కూడా ఒక దగ్గర ఆగదు. ఒకదాని మీద ఒకటి ఆధారపడుతూ ఉంటూనే అన్నీ కూడా సమతుల్యంగా జరిగిపోతూ ఉంటాయి. వాటిని మనం ఆ పరిస్థితుల్ని మనం ఎలా గమనిస్తున్నాం, ఎలా తీసుకుంటున్నాం అన్నదే ఇక్కడ అసలైన ముఖ్య అంశం అని చెప్పి నేను చెప్తున్నాను. ఇందులో మనకి శరీరాలు చెప్పుకున్నాం. అన్ని 7 సంఖ్య మీద ఈ శరీరాలు సంపూర్ణాలు అన్ని జరుగుతూ వచ్చాయి. ఇందులో మనం ఎక్కువగా చెప్పుకునేది కూడా మనిషికి ఒక 7 జన్మలు ఉంటాయి. ఆ తర్వాత మనిషి అత్యున్నతమైన ఆత్మగా ఏమంటారు అభివృద్ధి చెందుతాడు అని మనం చెప్పుకుంటాం. అలాగే ఇందులో గ్రహాల గురించి చెప్పారు. అన్ని 7 వర్గాలు, 7 సూక్ష్మ ప్రపంచాలు, అలాగా అన్ని కూడా 7 రంగాలతో విభజన జరుగుతూ వచ్చింది. ప్రతి పదార్థము మనం దైవత్వంతో చూస్తున్నాం. ఈ సౌర కుటుంబాన్ని దైవత్వంతో మనం పోలుస్తూ ఉంటాం. ఇందులో అన్నీ కూడా సమానంగానే ప్రభావితం చెందుతూ ఉంటాయి. ఇందులో మన జీవులు ఏ విధంగా ఉన్నారు అంటే వాళ్ళు కళాత్మకంగా ఉన్నారా, క్రూరంగా ఉన్నారా, వారి యొక్క ఆలోచనలు వారు ఎలా ఉన్నారు అంటే వారి యొక్క ఆలోచనలు ఎలా ఉంటున్నాయి, సాత్వికంగా ఉంటున్నాయా అంటే ఇవన్నీ కూడా వారి యొక్క స్థాయిని బట్టి ఆధారపడి ఉంటాయి. అంటే లివింగ్ సెంటర్స్ లైక్ మనం ఇందా చెప్పుకున్నట్టు 7 చక్షువులు అని కూడా చెప్పుకోవచ్చు మనం. 7 శరీరాలు ఉన్నాయి కదా, అందులో మనం ఎటువంటి మన జ్ఞానం బట్టి ఒక్కొక్క శరీరం అన్నది యాక్టివేట్ అవుతూ ఉంటది. అందులో మనం వాటి స్థాయి బట్టి మనకు వచ్చే ఎటువంటి సమస్యనైనా మనం ఎదుర్కొని ముందుకు సాగుతూ ఉంటాం. ఎప్పుడైతే మనకి ఆ శక్తి సరిపోలేదో ఆ కష్టం నుంచి కానీ ఆ పరిస్థితి నుంచి కానీ మనం డిస్టర్బ్ అవుతూ ఉంటాం. అంటే చాలా బాధకి కానీ ఒక ఒంటరితనానికి కానీ నాకే ఇవన్నీ కలుగుతున్నాయి, నాకే ఈ కష్టాలన్నీ వస్తున్నాయి అన్న ఒక అభద్రతా భావంలోకి మనం వెళ్ళిపోతూ ఉంటాం. ఇందులో మనం ముఖ్యంగా తెలుసుకోవాల్సింది ఏంటంటే ఒక మనిషి ఎలా ప్రతిస్పందిస్తున్నాడు, అలాగే తన యొక్క ఆలోచనలు ఎలా బయట పెడుతున్నాడు, తన దృఢత్వం, మానసిక దృఢత్వం ఎంతవరకు ఎంత బలంగా ఉన్నది అన్నది మనం చూస్తూ ఉండాలి. ఈ సౌర ప్రపంచం అంతా కూడా కాస్మిక్ ఎనర్జీతో, కాస్మిక్ శక్తితో నిండి ఉన్నది. దాంట్లో మనం ఎగ్జాంపుల్ నేను ఇంటర్నెట్ తీసుకుంటాను. అంటే మనం ఇంటర్నెట్ ని మనం వాడుతూ ఉంటాం. అందరూ కూడా చాలా ఈ రోజుల్లో చాలా విపరీతంగా దాని వాడకం అన్నది ఉన్నది. దాంట్లో మనం ఎలా వాడుతున్నాం, ఒక చిన్న పిల్లాడికి ఇస్తే తన గేమ్స్ తో అంటే ఆటల్లోకి వెళ్తూ వాడుతూ ఉంటాడు. అలాగే మనం చదువుకునే ఒక విద్యార్థికి ఇస్తే తను చదువుకు మల్లుతూ ఉంటారు, లేదా వారి యొక్క ఆలోచనలు బట్టి మార్పులు చెందుతూ ఉంటారు. అది మంచి వైపు వెళ్ళొచ్చు, చెడు వైపు వెళ్ళొచ్చు. అందుకోసం మన బలమైన, దృఢత్వమైన మానసిక ఆలోచనలు అన్నవే అసలు ముఖ్యం మనకి, అసలైనవి. ఇందులో మన ఆత్మశక్తి అన్నది ముఖ్యం. ప్రతి ఒక సంఘటనకి అక్కడ ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్, మనం ఒక ఉదాహరణకి మనం ఒక 10 మందికి ఒకలాంటి సమస్య వచ్చినా అందులో చాలా మంది ఆ సమస్య నుంచి వెంటనే బయటపడతారు, లేదంటే కొందరు ఆ సమస్యలోని చాలా రోజులు గాని, చాలా నెలలు, సంవత్సరాలు గాని అలా బాధితులుగా ఉంటూ తర్వాత వాటి నుంచి బయటపడతారు, లేదంటే కొంతమంది అందులోనే వారి జీవితాన్ని గడిపేస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఇవన్నీ కూడా మన ఆత్మశక్తి, మన జ్ఞానశక్తిపై ఆధారపడుతూ ఉంటాయి. ముఖ్యంగా మనం కష్టాలు వచ్చాయంటే మనం కర్మలు బట్టి కూడా వస్తాయి. ఒక ఆత్మ పరిశుద్ధంగా తయారవ్వాలి అంటే మనలోని జ్ఞానం, మనలోని ఆత్మశుద్ధి అన్నది చాలా ముఖ్యమైన అంశాలు. మన జ్ఞానం అలాగే ఆచరణలో పెట్టాలి. మనకి ఏ మంచి విషయమైనా తెలిసినా, మనలో ఎటువంటి మార్పులు మనకు కావాల్సి వచ్చినా మనం మొట్టమొదటిగా ఏంటంటే మనం యాక్సెప్టెన్స్ అన్నది ఉండాలి. అందులో నుంచే మనకి చేంజ్ అన్నది, మార్పు అన్నది ముందుకు వస్తది. అందులో వాటి బట్టే మనం ఈ కర్మల్ని, అన్ని కష్టాల్ని ఎదుర్కొనే శక్తి అన్నది మనలో కలుగుతుంది. మొత్తం మీదుగా ఈ అధ్యయనంలో చెప్తుంది ఏంటంటే, మానవులు ప్రతి విషయాన్ని ఎలా స్వీకరిస్తారు, వాటి నుంచి ఎలా ఆలోచనలను నిలకడగా బలంగా తీర్చిదిద్దుకుంటారు, దాన్ని బట్టి ఒక సమస్య నుంచి గాని, ఒక కష్టం నుంచి గాని బయటపడుతూ ఉంటారు. అలాగే వారికి విజయం అన్నది అన్ని రంగాల్లోనే సాధ్యమవుతుంది. ఇందులో మనం ముఖ్యంగా ఏంటంటే మన ఆలోచన శక్తి, మన బలమైన దృఢ నమ్మకం, వీటిని ఎప్పుడైతే చాలా బలంగా తయారు చేసుకోగలుగుతారో వీటన్నిటి నుంచి కూడా మనం బయటపడతాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
Thank you so much. You finished it on time. And now, Varun ji, I'll just let you be in the spotlight. Harshavadan ji, I will request you कि आप अपना वीडियो ऑन करें. हर्षवर्धन जी, दीपिका जी, आपने बहुत बढ़िया कहा, आपकी वाणी भी बहुत अच्छी है और बहुत अच्छे से टोन में आपने एक्सप्लेन किया. हालांकि मुझे लैंग्वेज पूरी समझ में नहीं आई, लेकिन आपका जो भाव था वो बहुत अच्छा था. अभी हर्षवर्धन भाई को मैंने रिक्वेस्ट किया कि वे 10 मिनट में, 8 मिनट में हिंदी में इसको समअप करने, तो क्योंकि बीना जी तो ज्वाइन ही नहीं कर पा रही है और उनका मोबाइल भी ऑफ हो गया, स्विच ऑफ हो गया. तो हर्षवर्धन, वैसे भी आप कुछ बोलते ही हैं, तो स्लाइड्स मैंने भेजी हैं, उस पर से आप जो भी त्वरित बोल सकें. धन्यवाद.
सही बात है.
उसके बाद जो भी लोग और ऐड करना चाहें, चंद्रकांत जी, शिंदे जी, और भी कोई लोग, तो वो कर सकते हैं. धन्यवाद.
हाँ जी, मेरा वीडियो आ रहा है ना
सर? आ और जा रहा है.
जा रहा है? ओह माय गॉड,
अभी आ रहा था. वरुण, यू कैन ऑल्सो ऐड इफ यू वांट टू आफ्टर
Yes,
सम टाइम, आफ्टर ही फिनिशेस. हाँ, अभी बहुत क्लियर आ रहा है सर, बोलिए.
ठीक है.
यस सर, गो अहेड.
वस्तुओं की गूढ़ जो बातें होती है, दो तरफा बातों को हमने जाना है, और ये आपने जो किताब ली है, हिडन साइड ऑफ द थिंग्स, चार्ल्स डब्ल्यू लीडबीटर साहब की, ये काफी प्रभावी है और हमें उन विभिन्न बातों को उस तरह से उजागर करने की कोशिश की जाती है कि जिसमें हम थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी में एक शब्द है जिसे हम लोगोस कहते हैं, और उससे हमें ये परिचय कराती है. और इसमें हमारे पास जो मनुष्य जाति का इस तरह से उत्क्रांति स्वरूप आगे निकल कर आता है, उसमें हम 7 वर्तुल में उसको देखते हैं। और ये 7 जो बॉडीज होते हैं, जो शब्द है बॉडीज, उसको भी हम पहचानते हैं, और उसी में से ही सेप्टेनरी प्रिंसिपल्स की बात आगे आती है। और ये जो चीजें हैं वो सोलर सिस्टम के साथ इस तरह से हमारे सामने आती है, जिसमें उसका रेडिएशन जो है वो बड़ा ही केंद्र में है। अब रेडिएशन का मतलब क्या कि हर एक चीज उसका एक प्रभाव होता है, और उस प्रभाव को हम रेडिएशन कहते हैं। और जैसे कि जो भी चीज है कुदरत में, पूरे विश्व में, ब्रह्मांड में, उन सभी चीजों को एक प्रभावित सेंटर मिलता है, और उस प्रभाव से जिन पर भी ये प्रभाव होता है उनका एक प्रति प्रभाव भी होता है। और इस तरह से ये रेडिएशन जो है वो पूरा सोलर सिस्टम में हम उसको जान सकते हैं। और ये प्रभाव जो है वो हमारे इंद्रियजन्य चीजों के साथ भी जुड़ता है। जो इंद्रियां हमारी उस प्रभाव से सम्मिलित होती है तो वो पूरा नहीं जान पाती है। आपने अच्छा समझाया वरुण जी कि उसमें मर्यादा है। लीडबीटर साहब ने हमें इस मर्यादा को देखने की कोशिश करने की एक बात कही है कि आप अपनी मर्यादा को जानो। और अगर मर्यादा को हम जान लेते हैं तो फिर क्या होता है कि उस मर्यादा के प्रभाव के आगे क्या है, मतलब कि हम अपनी इंद्रियों से अति इंद्रियों तरफ या उस शक्ति को कैसे हम पहचाने, जाने और उससे आगे बढ़े। ये हमारे लिए थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी के एक स्टूडेंट होने के नाते हमें इस पुस्तक से काफी हद तक इस तरह से मदद मिलती है कि हम उसमें आगे बढ़ सके। फिर बाद में एक अच्छी बात बताई जिसमें खास करके डेइटी ऑफ सोलर सिस्टम, ये जो बात है थोड़ी सी हमें भी जब इसका अभ्यास करते हैं तो ये डेइटी जो है वो कल्पना नहीं है। एक तरह से जैसे कि एक सबसे बड़ा एक केंद्र होता है कि जिस केंद्र से सभी चीजें बाहर निकलती है, तो वो कोई ताकत है जिस ताकत को हम डेइटी नाम दे सकते हैं। तो गुड ज्ञान के विद्यार्थियों को इस बारे में बताया जाता है कि ये एक असाधारण जीवंत प्रतिभा है, एक केंद्र है जो जीवंत केंद्र है, और उसी में से ही ये सब सारी चीजें हमारे सामने आती हैं। फिर सूर्य ग्रह की सूर्यमालाएं, जितने भी 7 ग्रह हैं उनके सब सेंटर्स और उनके साथ जुड़े हुए जो भी वर्तुलाकार जो बनते हैं, जो वलय बनते हैं, वो एक दूसरे में पूर्ण हो जाते हैं। और उसके साथ हमारी जो उत्क्रांति हुई, उस उत्क्रांति में हमने एटलांटियन जो पीरियड की बात आपने बताई, वो 4th रूट रेस की बात जैसे कि हमें थियोसॉफिक साहित्य में मिलती है, तो उस राह से 1st रूट रेस से लेकर 4th रूट रेस में जो हुआ, उसके बाद हम 5th रूट रेस में आज है। तो उसकी बात आपने बहुत अच्छी तरह से समझाई। तो हमारे आपके इस सब्जेक्ट पर जो बात होती है उसमें हमारा रूट रेस का जो ज्ञान है वो हमें वैसे अचंबा है, लेकिन हमारे लिए एज अ थियोसॉफिस्ट वो जानना जरूरी है, क्योंकि ये उत्क्रांति का वही पीरियड है। उसके बाद वो एटलांटियन जो संस्कृति थी उसको डुबा दिया गया, और उसके बाद हम आपने बताया एंग्लो सैक्सन तक वो चली आई, या ये कह सकते हैं कि विक्टोरियन एज तक, यानी 1800 तक, यानी 18th सेंचुरी के डाउन होने या उसका डाउन होने के, यानी 18 से 19th सेंचुरी तक आने में वो बातें हमने देखी है। तो इसके 7 राउंड होते हैं जो आपने डायग्राम में अच्छी तरह से बताया है। हम एक विद्यार्थी के नाते उसको देख सकते हैं, वो डायग्राम का हम अभ्यास कर सकते हैं। लीडबीटर साहब ने इस डायग्राम को इस तरह से हमारे सामने प्रस्तुत किया है कि जो भी वर्तुलाकार जो पूर्ण होते हैं तो उस चक्र से उसी गतिविधि का राउंड भी शुरू होता है। तो हम कौन से उस राउंड पर होते हैं, अब इसको कैसे समझना, उसको समझने के लिए हमारे आयाम को भी उन्होंने कुछ झकझोरा है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है। इतना झकझोरा है कि हम आपको भी सुनते हैं तो हम ये सोचते हैं कि भाई इस 7 राउंड की बात, फिर 7 रूट रेस, फिर 7 सब चलता है तो सेप्टेनरी प्रिंसिपल्स तक आ जाते हैं। तो मुझे रोहित भाई की एक बात याद आ रही है अभी आपकी बातों से कि सेप्टेनरी प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ ऑरेटरी, एक बुक लिखी उन्होंने, सेप्टेनरी प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ ऑरेटरी। तो ये जो बातें होती है तो वो किन किन चीजों पर इसका असर होता है, ये बड़ी गहरी बातें हैं और सूक्ष्म बातें हैं, तो थोड़ा उसके बारे में भी जान लीजिए कि इनका जो असर है वो हमारे सूक्ष्म शरीर पर ज्यादा होता है। हम हमारे सूक्ष्म शरीर का ख्याल नहीं रखते, लेकिन वो ज्यादा होता है। और विभिन्न आयामों में, विभिन्न विभागों में ये सूक्ष्म शरीर पर जो असर होता है, 7 बॉडीज यानी 7 जो हमारे आगे चलने वाले, जो उत्क्रांति में जाने वाले जितने भी हमारे जितने वलय उत्पन्न होते हैं, जितनी ध्वनियां उत्पन्न होती हैं, जितने भी हमारे, जैसे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है तो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का आपने बताया था कि उसका प्रयोग किस तरह से किया जाए, वो एक तरह से तो उसका प्रयोग हमें मदद भी देता है, और उसका अगर प्रयोग नहीं जानते तो जानलेवा भी हो सकता है। ये एग्जाम्पल आपने बहुत अच्छा दिया था। तो फिर आपने एक एस्ट्रल बॉडी का जो प्रमाण होता है, वो प्रमाण के साथ क्या बातें होती है कि हमारे एस्ट्रल बॉडी पर जितने असर होते हैं उसके असर के मुताबिक हमारा व्यक्तित्व बनता है। किस तरह से आपने बताया कि व्यक्तित्व में हमारा कभी कभी भक्ति भाव बाहर आ जाता है। उस व्यक्तित्व से अगर हम भक्ति भाव में अगर लीन नहीं होते तो फिलोसोफर बन जाते हैं। अगर फिलोसॉफी में आपका रस इतना लग सकता है तो दूसरे एक मुकाम पर आप पहुंचते हैं जिसमें आप कलाकारी में इतना रस लेते हैं। जिनराज दास जी आर्ट कला के हमारे नेता थे, और कितना अच्छी तरह से उन्होंने वो कला के बारे में बताया था, तो वो भी बात होती है। फिर कोई वैज्ञानिक भी होता है, उसके साथ रहस्यवादी भी होते हैं, और ये रहस्यवादी तो होना वो बड़ी ही ऐसी अचंभित करने वाली बात है कि मुझे लगता है कि हमारे थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी के आज जो प्रवाह चल रहे हैं उसमें भी हमारे कई ऐसे सदस्य हैं जिसे हम रहस्यवादी कह सकते हैं। चाहे वो हमारे पब्लिक में ना आए, चाहे कहीं कुछ भी ना बोले, लेकिन उनका काम एक रहस्यवादी की तौर से वो चलता रहता है, जिसमें हमारे मास्टर्स मदद रूप होते हैं। ये मुझे पूरा विश्वास है। और वो मदद रूप होने की बात है, वो कहीं कहीं इस तरह से हमारे कार्य में, हमारी जो प्रतिभा है उसमें, जो हमारे क्षेत्र है, जो हमारी ड्यूटीज है, जिस हम अलग अलग ड्यूटीज के आधार से हम देखते हैं, तो हमें लगता है कि इन सब सारी चीजों को मिलाकर अगर हम देखें तो हिडन साइड ऑफ द थिंग्स, लीडबीटर साहब की ये पुस्तक काफी हमें काफी मायनों में इतनी उपकारक है कि अगर इसका हर रोज हम गीता का अध्ययन जैसे करते हैं उस तरह से अगर अध्ययन करें तो हमारी जो 6th सेंस है उस पर भी असर वो करेगा। यानी सेंस ऑफ इक्विलिब्रियम, राधा जी की भाषा में कहूं तो सेंस ऑफ इक्विलिब्रियम उसमें से बाहर आएगा या पनपेगा। मुझे याद है कि हिडन साइड ऑफ द थिंग्स जो है वो मिस्टिक बातें बताती है, लेकिन वो प्रतिभाशाली जो हमारे थियोसॉफिस्ट हैं उनके लिए ये मिस्टिसिज्म को नहीं लेना है, सिर्फ उनको ये बातें लेना है कि जिसमें हमारे अंदरूनी जो चेंजेस है, उन जो प्रतिभाव आते हैं, उन सभी प्रतिभावों पर हम अपनी जो शक्तियां उसको कितनी जाया करते हैं। अगर शक्तियां जाया नहीं करते, केंद्र में रहते हैं, तो इतना सारा विकास करते हैं कि जिसका हम, जैसे कि महात्माओं ने हमें आशीर्वाद दे दिया है। तो ये सही मायनों में ऐसा होता है। और आपने जो दूसरे हिस्से में जो बात बताई वो व्यवहारिक ज्ञान की बात, यानी हिडन साइड ऑफ द थिंग्स, ये थोड़ी सी अटपटी चीजें जरूर है, लेकिन अगर हम उसे सही मायने में रख ले और समझ ले तो हमें पता चलेगा कि लोगोस का जो असर है, सूर्य की जो सूर्य मालाओं के जितने भी ग्रह हैं उनका जो असर है वो असर हम पर वो आ जाएगा, और उस असर के मुताबिक हमारा अभ्यास भी चलेगा, व्यक्तित्व पनपेगा, समाज उपयोगी कार्य करेंगे। एज अ थियोसॉफिस्ट जो हमें कार्य करना है उसमें हम बड़ा ही बदलाव ला सकेंगे, और मुझे तो पूरा विश्वास है कि इस बदलाव के कारण ही हमारा अस्तित्व है, और सही मायने में वो अस्तित्व है। एक बात मैं उसमें एक जोड़ देना चाहता हूं, जो है ब्लैक होल। अभी रिसेंटली जो भी चीजें सामने आई उसमें जो संशोधन हुआ वो ब्लैक होल का संशोधन हुआ कि वहां पर जैसे कि रेडिएशन का असर होता है उस तरह से ग्रेविटेशन का असर होता है, और उस ग्रेविटेशन का फोर्स इतना ज्यादा है कि हमारे लोगोस यानी पूरे ब्रह्मांड के उसी तरह से आगे बढ़ते हुए जितने भी हमारे ग्रह है उससे भी आगे निकल जाते हैं, और उसी जो हमारा चेंजेस जो एस्ट्रोफिजिक्स में हम देख पाते हैं तो उसमें पता चलता है, वैज्ञानिकों को उन्होंने ये साबित किया है कि ये ब्लैक होल का जो भी है ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स वो इतना अंदर खींचता है, और ये बातें उन्होंने जानने की कोशिश की है। अभी उसके संशोधन चल रहे हैं, उसमें हम कुछ और ज्यादा नहीं कह सकते, क्योंकि जब तक संशोधन सामने नहीं आएंगे हम बता नहीं पाएंगे, लेकिन वहां हम ठहर तो सकते हैं। एक जो भी लिमिटेशंस हमारे, उस लिमिटेशन से बाहर जा सकते हैं। तो इस तरह से मुझे पूरा आज का जो बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग लगा। थोड़ी सी बातें ऐसे हुई जिसमें हमें जो टेक्निकल चीजें सामने आती है, कभी ऑडियो वीडियो का भी प्रॉब्लम होता है, लेकिन कोई बात नहीं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं। बहुत अच्छा, आपको मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ। और अचानक से मुझे तरल भाई ने, मैंने कहा कि ठीक है भाई, ये तो हमारे लिए हमारे प्रेरणा रूप बात हो गई। महात्माओं ने कहाँ से हमें प्रेरणा दी और तरल भाई ने बोला और हमने
जी बिल्कुल
मिल जाती है। धन्यवाद आपका, मैं बहुत आभारी हूँ। थैंक यू,
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और इससे पहले कि कोई और वक्ता भी इस विषय पर बोले, मैं थोड़ी सी स्क्रीन शेयर करना चाहूंगा। जितने भी स्पीकर्स हैं वो बने रहें। आज का एक और विषय है जो मैंने पहले भी बोला था आप लोगों से, और वो विषय यही है कि ये जो बुक आप देख रहे हैं इसे लॉन्च तो कर ही दिया गया है, और साथ ही जब मतलब मैं हाल ही में बड़ौदा गया था तो मुझे पहली 9 प्रतियां भी मिली हैं जो मुझे बंबई में सारी गुजराती लॉज को देना है। ये ब्रह्म विद्यानी कुंजी, मतलब की टू थियोसॉफी इन गुजराती, और इनके ट्रांसलेशन किया है योगेंद्र राय पी देसाई ने, जिनका फोटोग्राफ देख सकते हैं। और उन्होंने बड़ी खूबी से इसे किया है। आज वो उपस्थित होने वाले थे, लेकिन शायद, अगर अतुल भाई वो हैं क्या, देखिए अगर हो तो मैं उनसे कहूंगा कि वो 2 शब्द कहें। और दिनाकरण जी भी थे। पर आप जितने भी लोग हैं, मैं आपसे निवेदन करूंगा कि त्रिवेणी मीट के द्वारा हम एक ये शुरुआत कर रहे हैं कि इस तरह की कोई भी किताब अगर ट्रांसलेट होती है तो आप हमें ये जो मोबाइल नंबर दिया हुआ है त्रिवेणी का, जिस पर से आपको मैसेज आता है, उस पर हमको उल्लेख कर सकते हैं, उसका कवर भेज सकते हैं। और जब भी हमारी किसी बुक की मीटिंग होगी इस तरह से, तो हम इसे एक स्पेशल रूप में प्रदर्शित करेंगे। उसके अंदर जैसा हाल में आप देख सकते हैं कि 200 रुपए की प्राइस है, लेकिन 30% डिस्काउंट और फ्री डिलीवरी, यानी करीब करीब आप समझ लीजिए कि 140 में आपको पड़ जरूर रही है, लेकिन और भी 40-50 रुपए उसमें निकल जाते हैं, तो प्रैक्टिकली 50% पर ही ये आपको मिल रही है। और ये ऐसी किताब है जो सचमुच की टू थियोसॉफी है, जैसा कि इसका शीर्षक कहता है। तो जितने भी गुजराती बंधु हैं, अगर मुझे सुन रहे हैं, या जो भी लोग हैं, अतुल जी वगैरह हैं, इन सभी लोगों से गुजारिश है कि इस बैनर को या इस पोस्टर को बार बार प्रतिदिन 1-1, 2-2 दिन के बाद अपने गुजराती जितने भी लॉजेस हैं उसमें फैलाएं। किसी को ये दें कि कम से कम हर लॉज से 5 लोग खरीदें, और फिर हम उसमें से किसी को गुजराती में ही स्पीच देने को कहेंगे त्रिवेणी में, अगर वो इस बात पे राजी होते हैं तो इस तरह से दिनाकरण जी से बात हुई थी, उन्होंने कहा वहाँ भी जो मलयालम भाषा है उसमें भी कहीं हुई है। और दीपिका जी हमारे बीच हैं, अगर वहाँ लोकल भाषा में कोई ऐसी किताब अनुवादित हुई हो तो आप उसे प्लीज दिखाएं, क्योंकि जो ओरिजिनल टाइटल है वो तो सभी लोग जानते हैं, लेकिन हमारे बीच आज ट्रांसलेट करने वाले मौजूद हैं। ये एक बहुत ही फख्र की बात है हम थियोसॉफिस्ट के लिए। और मैं बस आप सब लोगों से यही गुजारिश करूंगा कि इस योजना में सहयोग दें, और जिसको भी जैसी इंटीमेशन लगे वो दें। और जैसे नीचे लिखा हुआ है कि ये जो पैसा है वो सीधा जो प्रकाशन में जाता है, मतलब कि इसमें जाता है जो उनका गुजरात फेडरेशन है या जो भी फेडरेशन है। अब मैं इसे स्विच ऑफ करके सारे लोगों को, स्पेशली हर्षवर्धन जी को कहूँगा, अतुल जी को कहूँगा कि भाई इस गुजराती किताब के बारे में बोलें। उसके बाद इस विषय पर हम शिंदे जी को सुने बिना तो नहीं रह सकते, और उनके विचार इस नए कार्य पर भी दें। शिंदे जी, आपसे निवेदन है, क्योंकि आपके विचार, आप लाइब्रेरियन हैं अडियार जितनी विशाल लाइब्रेरी के, तो आपके सजेशंस हमारे लिए बहुत बहुत काम करेंगे। और अगर ऐसी 10 से 15 किताबें भी हम सारे रीजनल लैंग्वेज में पहुंचा पाए तो बहुत बड़ी बात हो जाएगी, ऐसा मुझे लगता है। यस हर्षवर्धन भाई।
हाँ तरल जी, मैं क्षमा चाहूंगा, मुझे पहले शिंदे जी को मैं सुनूं, फिर बाद में मैं
बिल्कुल, मैं भी ये सोच रहा था कि मैं पहले शिंदे जी को कहूँ। धन्यवाद। कहिए शिंदे जी, आप दोनों चीज पे बोलिए, विषय पर और इस किताब का जो एक नया शुरू कर रहे हैं, शुरुआत छोटी सी।
So I begin with this new book, Key to Theosophy, translated in Gujarati. Wonderful work Yogendra Desai ne kiya hai. I must congratulate him. It is not easy to translate such books, but he has made it possible, and it is to be distributed in all over the Gujarat, because we have to propagate Theosophy in regional language. And that work he has done, worth appreciating. Really, I congratulate Yogendra Desai as a translator of this book. This book, Key to Theosophy, makes us clear many doubts. So one must read either in English, or if he is not understanding English, then they can read in the regional language and discuss upon it. So once again, I congratulate Yogendra Desai and also TARAL MUNSHI ji for propagating the theosophical knowledge to online and all over the Maharashtra and Gujarat, all countries. Whatever you are doing, really wonderful work you are doing. Now I must congratulate Harshavadan Seth ji. बहुत बढ़िया आपने बताया. It was very difficult subject. And what Varun ji has given us, it is not easy to tell in brief. So you have tried your best and you explained, and I could understand what you were telling. And it was very nice, very impressive, also very inspiring. I must also congratulate Varun. Varun is wonderful, what I can see. Very intellectually, he has done the slides, and he has explained all that great divine plan. As it is said, it is definitely a divine plan. We don't know this divine plan. There are only two kinds of people, those who know and those who do not know that God has a plan, and that plan is the divine plan. This kind of evolution through 7 globes of earth, it is a wonderful, wonderful study one must do. But it is not easy to study this. Everybody cannot study this, but Varun has studied it. Not only studied, he tried to explain us in a deep sense and given with the slides also. Really, Varun, you have done excellent work and exposition of this theosophy through this lecture. It is very difficult to grasp also, but we silently listened all that when you did the efforts. Really wonderful thing you are doing. And what I can say, the hidden side of things, this book itself is attractive title. I was attracted with this book long back when I entered into the Theosophical Society. Since then I am reading this because everybody wants to know what is the hidden side, what is hidden. Everybody wants to see what is hidden. And when it is title is the hidden side of things. So things are seen by the light of sunlight, reflected, and our senses, they see the things. But to see the hidden side of things, one has to become nothing. So we can see the things, but when we become nothing, to become, it is a great power to become nothing. When we become nothing, then only we can see the hidden side. Because what we see is seen in the realm of space and time. Space as dimension is an illusion, but still we want to measure. We are able to measure the things because we can measure the things which are in the realm of space and time. But beyond space, as Harshavadan said, there is a black hole. So beyond space, there is a void. There is a slight difference between space and void. In the space, there is ether, akasha. But in the void, there is nothing like that. And that can be seen not with our fleshy eyes, we must blind our fleshy eyes and open our eye of soul to see that hidden side. And it is therefore we are making a universal prayer. O hidden life, O hidden light, O hidden love. All these are the hidden. But if you make a will, you can see that thing also. So there is human possibility to go beyond this space. And we can enter into that. Space is the ether. So beyond the space, there is nothing but light. We can enter the light. And that prakasha of viveka, you can see very clearly. No question of choice. When we see the things, there is question of choice. But when we go beyond this ether, space, then there is only light. And that light makes us to see clearly. That gives the vision. And beyond that vision, there is the liberation. That is mukti, what we say. So once we understand this, and this hidden side of things what we see are limited. And we must go beyond it. And for this it is said, you must try to study the divine plan. And I must congratulate to Varun and also DEEPIKA. I heard first time to DEEPIKA, but she tried well in Telugu. I don't understand Telugu, but Sairam PATE I know well. So you have tried your best. All of them, they are worth congratulating. Thank you very much, Taralji, for giving me this opportunity. I don't know whether I have added anything or not, but I am definitely appreciating the work of Varun, what he has done, which is a difficult task, and he is being a technological person and very influential talk he has given. Thank you very much. Thank you.
नहीं शिंदे जी आपने बहुत सही बोला और वरुण जी से मेरी बात भी हुई कि this is a difficult book. So he has agreed that probably every month we will take one chapter of this book. Like he has taken planet. Next time maybe he will be taking sun. Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that slow but steadily we will take some chapters of this book through him only. And wonderful presentation, wonderful everything.
Sir, I
Yes,
think
we are really waiting for that. Thank you.
Yes, yes. And Deepika ji, what can I say? I dreamed that one day Sairam and you both are there as speaker. It will be wonderful.
Sir,
and now, Sir Writer has joined us, Mr. Desai. So,
योगेंद्र देसाई आए हैं. नमस्ते. नमस्ते.
नमस्ते
योगेंद्र भाई.
जी.
हाँ, आपने तो ट्रांसलेट किया है की टू थियोसॉफी. वंडरफुल. कांग्रेचुलेशंस.
थैंक यू.
कुछ कहना हो तो कहिए देसाई जी.
See, this book was the first book that we were taught in Mr. Tyagi. Mr. Tyagi was the first person to tell us about theosophy. And we had a 7-day program at Bhavnagar. There we had a very small book. And then slowly we went on considering the things. After that, during this Corona period, I did not have any other thing to see that. Then I started translating that book in Baroda, Ahmedabad, at my son's place. And then when it was over, I just kept it. And then when there was time, I showed it to our president, Mr. Triveni, and secretary, Mr. And then that was shown to the president of the
Gohil.
Goyal, yes.
Gohilji.
He was, then he said, you get it published. And I got it published.
Very good. It is also translated in Marathi. Marathi Federation has translated Key to Theosophy.
ओ शिंदे जी, तो फिर मुझे भेजिएगा जरूर उसकी कॉपी, मैं उन लोगों से भी बात करूंगा।
आप पोटे जी को बोल दीजिए।
आप पोटे जी को बोलता हूँ, मैं संजय भाई को बोलता हूँ। प्लीज गो एट सर देसाई जी, बोलो तुमने।
मैं क्या बोलूं?
नहीं, वो तो समझ में आया कि आपने इतनी इस किताब को लिखा और एक प्रॉपर चैनल से ये किताब छपने के लिए आई, तो एक चैनल का भी पता लगा। और मेरे ख्याल से ये धीरज भी सुनने वालों को मिली होगी, खासकर वरुण वगैरह जो इतने तरह से अच्छी तरह से प्रेजेंट करते हैं, या दीपिका जी भी जो अनुवाद करती हैं अपनी भाषा में, कि वे एक चीज का अनुवाद करके रख दें, पता नहीं कब छपे वो, लेकिन अनुवाद करना जरूरी है। आपने भी इतने सालों से रखे रहा अहमदाबाद में, तो वो एक मेरे लिए बहुत प्रेरणा वाली बात है कि कोई भी चीज जल्दी नहीं होती, लेकिन होती है। जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और वाकई में मजा आ गया आपको सुन के। थैंक यू कि आपने ज्वाइन किया हमें। और
मुझे ये कैसे करना,
ऑनलाइन नहीं आता,
ऑनलाइन का तकलीफ होता है।
समझ गया मैं, लेकिन आप बड़े अच्छे तरह से आ गए समय पर। उन पर मैंने लिंक भेजी और ये हुआ। अतुल में भी प्रयासरत थे, और बहुत बहुत आभार आपका। अब बने रहिए आप। और हर्षवर्धन भाई, आप बचे हैं और कुछ कोई कहना चाहता हो? सुषमा जी के विचार हम जरूर सुनना चाहेंगे अगर वो उपलब्ध हैं। जी, हाँ जी हर्षवर्धन।
हाँ जी, मैं बस इनका इंतजार कर रहा था। आई वॉज वेटिंग फॉर वेरी रिवियर्ड योगेंद्र भाई जी, क्योंकि उन्होंने ये ट्रांसलेट किया हमारे कोरोना काल में, और कोरोना काल में ही त्रिवेणी का जन्म हुआ
जी।
प्रोग्राम भी कोरोना से ही हुआ। मतलब कि ये कैसी अच्छी चीजें पेंडेमिक में सामने आई, यानी दैट इज द ओनली थिंग दैट वी हैव टू कैरी ऑन। तो मैं जब आई वॉज वेटिंग फॉर योगेंद्र भाई टू कम ओवर the screen, but he didn't, so just I thought that I should say something about the book that he translated. And this book was inaugurated during our 92nd annual meet at Vadatal. That was the annual session of the Gujarat Theosophical Federation. तो उसी वजह से ये हमारे योगेंद्र भाई ने जो काम किया था उसको बड़ा ही गौरव के साथ हमने अप्रिशिएट किया है, और पूरे हमारे जो मेंबर्स हैं उनको एक किताबें मिलेगी। और आपने भी इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर इस किताब को इस तरह से लॉन्च किया है कि जितने भी गुजरात भर के जो हमारे सदस्य हैं उनके तक ये मैसेज जाएगा। तो इसके लिए मैं धन्यवाद करता हूँ। आभार।
थैंक यू अर्जुन भाई, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और ये तो एक प्रयास है, जैसे किताब लिखने के प्रयास होते हैं, पता नहीं हम कब 100वें पन्ने तक पहुंचे, लेकिन ऐसे अलग अलग प्रयास त्रिवेणी करता रहे, मुझे ऐसे आइडिया आता रहे। थैंक यू सो मच। यस वरुण भाई, कुछ और ऐड करना चाहते हो कोई और? अब समय भी हो गया है, लेकिन थोड़ा समय आज इसीलिए बिताया कि हमें की टू थियोसॉफी गुजराती में मिल चुकी है। जी, मिश्रा जी खामोश रहते हैं, तो मेरे ख्याल से हम समापन की ओर चलें। अतुल भाई, आप कहाँ गायब हो गए? सुषमा जी शायद नहीं ज्वाइन हुई ना आज। अतुल भाई अदृश्य हो गए आप।
आए थे और चले गए सुषमा जी, और अतुल भाई का वीडियो ऑफ है। किशोर बहन का भी वीडियो चालू था।
वीडियो चालू है पर वो नहीं।
हाँ, आ गए।
यस किशोर बहन, आई थिंक अतुल भाई का वीडियो ऑफ हो गया है। हाँ, आ गए। अतुल भाई, समापन की ओर चलते हैं।
તમારું માઇક, અતુલભાઈ માઇક
યસ કેશવબેન ને શિવમ ગાન કરવા માટે વિનંતી કરું છું અને ત્યારબાદ આપણે સભાનું સમાપન કરીશું. કેશવબેન, આપનું સ્વાગત છે.
मनोबुद्धि अहंकार चित्तानि नाहं न कर्णं न जिह्वा न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योम भूमिर्न तेजो न वायुः चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राण संज्ञो न वै पंचवायु न वा सप्त धातुर्न वा पंचकोशः न वा पाणिपादौ न चापस्थपायुः चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेष रागौ न मे लोभ मोहौ मदो नैव मे नैव मत्सर्य भावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मंत्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञ अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्तः चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शंका न मे जाति भेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्मः न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्यः चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकार रूपो विभुत्वा च सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां न वा संगतं नैव मुक्तिर्न मेयः चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानंद रूप शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं.
હવે સાથે સાથે લગભગ પૂરું ગાવા માંડી છે.